The land didn't want her. Rhea could feel it in the way the soil crumbled under her boots, in the wind that clawed at her face like it was trying to peel her skin back. The claim she'd staked 3 months ago sat in a valley too narrow for decent crops, too exposed for easy winters, too far from town for help. Perfect. She drove another stake into the ground, her shoulders screaming. The baby kicked hard against her ribs, a sharp jab that made her grunt. 8 months along now. Maybe 9. She'd stopped counting. "Settle down," she muttered, pressing a hand to her swollen belly. "We're not done yet." The frame of the cabin stood half-finished behind her, a skeleton of rough-cut logs that looked like it might collapse if the wind blew wrong. She'd been working on it since dawn, and the sun was already sinking behind the ridge. Another day almost gone. Another day she hadn't finished. She straightened, ignoring the way her lower back seized up, and looked at what she'd built. It wasn't much. 4 walls barely. No roof yet. No door. The gaps between the logs were wide enough to see through, but it was hers. That was the point. A horse whinnied in the distance. Rhea's head snapped up. Her hand went instinctively to the rifle leaning against the nearest log, but she didn't grab it. Not yet. Out here, you didn't pull a gun unless you meant to use it, and she hadn't decided yet. The rider came into view a minute later, picking his way down the slope with the kind of easy confidence that came from owning things. Rhea recognized him immediately, hard not to, when he'd been out here twice before in the last month. Darius Kane, heir to the biggest ranch in 3 counties. Dark hair, broad shoulders, the kind of face that probably made women stupid in town. He sat his horse like he was born on it. Rhea hated him on principle. He reined in about 20 feet away, eyes sweeping over the cabin, the scattered tools. Her. His expression didn't change, but she saw the flicker of something, surprise maybe, or disbelief. "Miss Calloway." "Mr. Kane." They stared at each other. Rhea didn't move toward the rifle, but she didn't step away from it either. "Didn't expect to see you still here," he said finally. "That makes 2 of us." His mouth twitched, not quite a smile. "You planning to finish that before the snow comes? Planning to mind your own business?" This time he did smile, quick and sharp. "No, ma'am." Rhea felt her jaw tighten. She turned back to the cabin, picked up the axe, and started trimming another log. If he wanted to sit there and watch, fine. She had work to do. Behind her, she heard the creak of leather as he dismounted. "What are you doing?" she asked without turning around. "Helping." "I didn't ask for help. I noticed." The axe bit into wood. Chips flew. Rhea's arms burned, but she kept swinging, kept her rhythm steady. She heard him moving around, heard the scrape of logs being dragged, but she didn't look. "You know," he said after a while, his voice coming from somewhere near the back of the cabin, "there's a perfectly good boarding house in town. Mrs. Fletcher rents rooms cheap. I'm not interested in town. You're not interested in surviving the winter either, apparently." Rhea slammed the axe into the log and left it there, turning to face him. He stood with a log hoisted on one shoulder, looking at her with those dark, unreadable eyes. "What do you want?" she asked. "I want to know why a woman 8 months pregnant is trying to build a homestead by herself in the middle of nowhere." 9 months. His eyebrows rose. "And it's none of your damn business," she added. "It is when you're on land that borders mine. This is public claim. I filed properly. I'm not disputing that." He set the log down carefully, dusted off his hands. "I'm questioning your judgment." Rhea laughed, short and bitter. "Get in line." She turned back to her work, grabbed the axe and pulled it free. The weight of it felt good in her hands, solid, real. "Look," Darius said, and there was something different in his voice now, less edge, more, she didn't know what. "I'm not trying to run you off. I'm just saying you've got options. There's no shame in don't." "Don't what?" "Don't tell me there's no shame. Don't tell me about options. Don't stand there and pretend you know a damn thing about my life." He was quiet for a long moment. Rhea could feel him watching her, could feel the weight of questions he wasn't asking. "Fair enough," he said finally, "but I'm still not leaving you out here alone. You don't get a vote." "Maybe not." But I do get to decide what I do on my own time, and right now I'm deciding to help you finish this roof before the weather turns. Rhea wanted to argue, wanted to tell him to get back on his horse and ride straight to hell, but the truth was she needed the help. The baby was due any day now, and she still didn't have a roof, didn't have a door, didn't have anything close to what she'd need to survive once winter hit. Pride was going to kill her, she knew that. She just hadn't figured out how to care yet. "Fine," she said, "but you work, you don't talk, and you're gone before dark." Darius nodded. "Yes, ma'am." They worked in silence after that. Rhea handled the smaller tasks, chinking the gaps between logs with mud and grass, sorting through the pile of shingles she'd split last week. Darius hauled the heavy logs into place, fitted them together with the kind of easy competence that made it clear he'd built things before. She hated that she was grateful. The sun dropped lower, the temperature dropped with it. Rhea's fingers started to go numb, and the baby kicked harder, restless. She ignored it, kept working, kept moving. "You should rest," Darius said at one point. "I'm fine." "You're swaying." "I said I'm fine." He muttered something under his breath that sounded like stubborn, but he didn't push it. By the time the lights started to fail, they'd made real progress. The roof still wasn't finished, but the frame was solid and half the shingles were in place. It looked less like a skeleton and more like a building. Darius stepped back, wiping sweat off his forehead despite the cold. "That'll do for today." Rhea nodded, too tired to argue. He walked to his horse, swung up into the saddle with practiced ease. Then he looked down at her, and his expression shifted into something she couldn't quite read. "I'll be back tomorrow," he said. "Don't bother. I'll be back anyway." He turned the horse and rode off before she could respond. Rhea watched him go, watched until he disappeared over the ridge. Then she turned back to the cabin, her cabin, and felt something twist in her chest that might have been hope. She crushed it immediately. Hope was dangerous. Hope made you soft, made you think things could be different. She'd learned that lesson already. Inside the cabin, she lit a fire in the stone hearth she'd built last month, then lowered herself onto the pile of blankets that served as her bed. Every muscle in her body ached. The baby shifted, settled. She closed her eyes, thought about Darius Kane's hands on those logs, the easy strength in his shoulders. Thought about the way he'd looked at her, not with pity, exactly, but something close. She thought about the man she'd left behind, Thomas. His name was a scar in her mind, raised and ugly. She could still see his face, still hear his voice. "You're nothing without me. You'll come crawling back." She hadn't. She wouldn't, even if it killed her. Mitz. Darius came back the next day, just like he'd said. And the day after that. And the day after that. He didn't ask questions. Didn't pry. Just showed up at dawn with his tools and worked until the sun started to set. They fell into a rhythm, her doing what she could, him handling the heavy lifting. The cabin took shape around them, walls solid, roof tight, door hung. On the 5th day, he brought supplies. Flour, salt, dried meat, coffee. He set them inside without a word, like it was nothing. "I can't pay you," Rhea said. "Didn't ask you to." "Why are you doing this?" He paused in the doorway, looked back at her. "Maybe I like a challenge." "I'm not a challenge. I'm a problem." Those aren't mutually exclusive. He left before she could respond. That night, lying on her blankets with the fire crackling low, Rhea felt the first real pain. Not a kick, not the baby shifting, a cramp that started low and spread up through her belly like a fist clenching. She breathed through it, counted to 10, waited for it to pass. It did. But an hour later, it came back, upset. By the time Darius arrived the next morning, Rhea was on her knees in front of the hearth, gripping the edge of the stone mantle so hard her knuckles were white. He was off his horse before it even stopped moving. "What's wrong?" "Nothing." The word came out as a gasp. "Just cramp. It's fine." "The hell it is." He knelt beside her, and she wanted to shove him away, wanted to snarl that she didn't need him. But another contraction hit, stronger this time, and all she could do was breathe. "How long?" he asked. "Since last night." "Jesus, why didn't you—" What was I supposed to do? Ride into town? I can barely walk. His jaw worked. I'm getting the doctor. No. Rhea.
This story was
No.
posted on the channel The
She
Rusty
grabbed his
Saddle.
wrist, held
Please
on
do
tight.
not
I
repost it in
can't.
any form.
They'll ask questions. They'll want to know. I don't care what they want to know. I do. Her voice cracked. Please, just stay or go, but don't bring anyone here. He stared at her, and she saw the war playing out behind his eyes. Logic against something else. Duty against what? She didn't know. Finally, he nodded. Okay. Okay, but if this goes bad, it won't. It might. They both knew it. He helped her to the bed, got her settled. The contractions were coming faster now, harder, and Rhea bit down on a leather strap to keep from screaming. Darius moved around the cabin with surprising efficiency, boiling water, finding clean cloth, doing all the things she'd read about in the medical book she'd stolen from the general store 2 months ago. You've done this before, she panted between contractions. Horses, cattle, never a person. Comforting. You asked. Hours passed. The pain got worse. Rhea stopped tracking time, stopped thinking about anything except breathing, pushing, surviving. Darius stayed beside her, his voice low and steady, talking her through it. You're doing fine. You're strong. Just a little more. She wanted to tell him to shut up, wanted to tell him she wasn't strong. She was terrified. She had no idea what she was doing, but she couldn't find the words. And then, finally, impossibly, a cry split the air, thin and reedy and perfect. Rhea sobbed. Darius wrapped the baby in clean cloth, placed the tiny bundle in her arms. A girl, red-faced and furious and alive. She's beautiful, he said quietly. Rhea looked down at her daughter and felt something crack open inside her chest. All the walls she'd built, all the armor she'd worn. It shattered. I can't do this, she whispered. You just did. No, I mean, I can't keep her safe, not out here, not alone. Darius crouched beside the bed, his eyes level with hers. You're not alone. I don't even know you. That's fair, but I know you. I've watched you build this place with your bare hands. I've seen you work through pain that would have put most men on their backs. You're the stubbornest, most impossible woman I've ever met. He smiled, just a little. And if you think I'm walking away now, you don't know me either. Rhea wanted to believe him, wanted to let herself lean into that certainty, just for a moment, but she'd trusted before, she'd believed before, and it had nearly destroyed her. Why? She asked. Why do you care? He was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was rough. Because I see you, the real you, not what people think, not what you pretend. And I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since the first time I rode past this place and saw you swinging that axe like you were fighting the whole damn world. The baby stirred in her arms, made a small sound. Rhea looked down at her, at this tiny, impossible thing she'd created, at this life she hadn't planned for but couldn't imagine giving up. Her name's Anna, she said. Anna, Darius repeated. That's good. He stood, moved to stoke the fire. The cabin filled with warmth, with light. Outside, the wind was picking up, the first hints of winter in the air. Rhea closed her eyes, held her daughter close, and let herself rest. Just for a moment. Just long enough to gather her strength for whatever came next. 3 days later, Thomas found her. Rhea was outside, washing cloth in a bucket of cold water when she heard the horse. She looked up, and her blood turned to ice. He sat tall in the saddle, just like always, same dark coat, same cold eyes, same smile that had once made her heart race and now made her want to run. Hello, wife. The word hit like a fist. Rhea straightened slowly, her hand instinctively moving toward the rifle leaning against the cabin wall. But Thomas was faster. He always had been. I wouldn't, he said mildly. She froze. He dismounted, taking his time, his eyes sweeping over the cabin, the clearing, her. Quite a little setup you've got here. Took me a while to track you down.
How did you find me? Does it matter? He stepped closer. You ran, Rhea. You took what was mine, and you ran. I didn't take anything. You took yourself. That's enough. Inside the cabin, Anna started to cry. Thomas's eyes sharpened. Ah, so the rumors were true. Rhea's chest tightened. Leave. Now. I don't think so. He moved toward the door. She grabbed the rifle. Thomas stopped, turned back to her. His smile widened. You won't shoot me. Try me. If you were going to, you'd have done it already. He took another step. Put it down, Rhea. Let's talk about this like civilized people. We're not civilized, and there's nothing to talk about. I disagree. There's the matter of our marriage, the matter of that child, the matter of you thinking you could just disappear and I'd let you go. I don't need your permission. Legally, you do. You're still my wife, which means that baby is mine too. Like hell. Anna's cries got louder. Rhea's hands shook on the rifle, but she didn't lower it. Thomas sighed like she was being unreasonable. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to bring you home. This is my home. This? He laughed. This is a shack in the middle of nowhere. You're playing house, Rhea. It's pathetic. The anger came then, hot and clean. Get off my land. Or what? You'll shoot me? We both know you don't have it in you. He was right. She hated that he was right. But then she heard the second horse. Thomas heard it too. He turned, and Rhea saw his expression shift. Surprise, calculation, annoyance. Darius rode into the clearing like he owned it, his eyes going straight to the rifle in Rhea's hands, then to Thomas. Problem? He asked mildly. No problem, Thomas said. Just a private matter between husband and wife. Darius looked at Rhea. She met his eyes, saw the question there. She lowered the rifle, just an inch. He was leaving. Was I? Thomas's smile turned sharp. I don't think we've met. I'm Thomas Calloway, Rhea's husband. Darius dismounted, slow and deliberate. He was taller than Thomas, broader. When he stepped between them, it wasn't aggressive, just final. Darius Kane, and I think the lady asked you to leave. The lady is my wife. The lady has a name, and she's got a rifle. If she wanted you here, she wouldn't be holding it. Thomas's jaw tightened. For a moment, Rhea thought he might push it, might force the confrontation. But then he looked at Darius, really looked at him, and seemed to recalculate. This isn't over, he said, turning back to Rhea. Yes, she said. It is. He mounted his horse, gave her one last long look. I'll be back, with the sheriff. We'll see what he has to say about a woman abandoning her husband. He rode off. Rhea's legs gave out. Darius caught her before she hit the ground, his arms solid around her. She wanted to pull away, wanted to stand on her own, but she couldn't. The adrenaline was draining out of her, leaving her hollow. I've got you, he said quietly. He'll come back. I know. He'll take her. He'll take Anna, and I won't be able to stop him. We'll figure it out. How? I'm still married to him. Legally, Rhea. Darius pulled back just enough to look at her. I don't care what's legal. I care what's right, and that man doesn't get to take your daughter. You don't understand. He has money, connections. I'm nobody. You're not nobody. His hands tightened on her shoulders. You're the woman who built this cabin, who survived alone, who fought for every inch of this life. And I'll be damned if I let him take it from you. Rhea wanted to believe him, wanted to let herself hope that maybe, just maybe, she didn't have to fight this alone. But hope was dangerous. Hope was what had gotten her into this mess in the first place. Inside the cabin, Anna's cries had quieted to soft whimpers. Rhea pulled away from Darius, wiped her eyes. I need to feed her. Okay. And then we need to talk. Okay. She walked inside, picked up her daughter, settled into the chair by the fire. Anna latched on immediately, and Rhea felt some of the tension drain from her shoulders. Darius stood in the doorway, not coming in, not leaving. Tell me, he said finally. So she did. She told him about meeting Thomas 5 years ago, about how charming he'd been, how certain, about the wedding that had felt like a dream, about the first time he'd hit her,
6 months later, about the years that followed, the bruises she'd hidden, the apologies she'd believed, the hope that kept dying and resurrecting itself. About the night she'd finally run. She told him everything.
This story
and
was
he listened.
posted on the channel The
When she
Rusty
finished,
Saddle.
Anna
Please
was
do
asleep
not
in her
repost
arms,
it in
and
any
the fire
form.
had burned down to embers. I can't fight him, she said quietly. Not legally. The law doesn't care that he hurt me. I'm his wife. That's all that matters. Then we don't fight him legally. What does that mean? Darius stepped into the cabin, closed the door behind him. It means we leave, tonight, before he comes back. Leave? I built this place. And you can build another. Somewhere he won't find you.
I don't have money. I do. Rhea stared at him. Why would you do that? Because He stopped, ran a hand through his hair. Because you deserve better. Because that baby deserves better. And because I'm not standing by while that bastard comes back to drag you away. You don't owe me anything. This isn't about owing. This is about choosing. He crouched in front of her chair, his eyes level with hers. I'm choosing you, Rhea. I'm choosing this, if you'll let me. Her throat tightened. I don't know how to trust this. I know. I don't know how to believe you won't leave. Then watch me stay. Anna stirred, made a small sound. Rhea looked down at her daughter, at this tiny person who depended on her for everything. She thought about Thomas, about the law, about all the ways this could go wrong. And then she thought about Darius, riding through the storm to help a stranger, building a cabin he'd never live in,
Delivering a baby he had never met. Staying. Okay, she whispered. Okay? We leave. Tonight. Darius nodded once, stood. Pack what you need. I'll saddle the horses. They moved quickly after that. Rhea wrapped Anna in blankets, gathered the few possessions she couldn't leave behind, clothes, the medical book, her mother's ring. Darius loaded supplies onto his horse, made sure everything was secure. By the time the moon rose, they were ready. Rhea stood in the doorway of the cabin one last time, looking at what she'd built, the walls she'd raised, the roof she'd finished, the home she'd made from nothing. It hurt to leave it, but not as much as staying would have hurt. You ready? Darius asked quietly. Rhea shifted Anna in her arms, felt the baby's weight, warm and solid. Yeah, she said. I'm ready. They rode out into the darkness, heading west toward a future Rhea couldn't see and didn't dare imagine. But for the first time in years, she wasn't running from something. She was running toward it. They rode for 3 days straight, stopping only when the horses needed rest, or when Anna needed to be fed. Darius led them through back trails he seemed to know by instinct, avoiding towns, avoiding roads, avoiding anywhere Thomas might think to look. Rhea didn't ask where they were going. She was too tired to care. On the 4th morning, they crested a ridge and Darius pulled his horse to a stop. Below them, a valley stretched out green and wide, with a river cutting through the middle like a silver ribbon. This is it, he said. Rhea looked at him. This is what? Where we start over. The land was beautiful in a way her claim never had been. Gentler, more forgiving, the kind of place where things might actually grow. Who owns it? She asked. No one. Yet. He glanced at her. Thought maybe we could file a claim. Together. Together. If you want. Anna fussed in Rhea's arms, and she shifted the baby against her shoulder. Her body ached from days in the saddle, from nights sleeping on hard ground. Every part of her screamed to say yes, to take the easy path, to let Darius fix everything. But nothing in her life had ever been easy, and she'd learned the hard way that when something looked too good, it usually was. What do you want from this? She asked. Darius turned in his saddle to face her fully. Honestly? Yeah, honestly. I don't know yet. He looked out at the valley. I know what I don't want. I don't want to go back to my father's ranch and spend the rest of my life doing what I'm told. I don't want to marry Caroline Fletcher just because our families decided it 20 years ago. And I don't want to watch you disappear and spend the rest of my life wondering if you made it. Caroline Fletcher, Rhea repeated. You're engaged? Technically. What does that mean? It means my father and her father shook hands when we were kids. It means everyone expects it. It means I've been running from it for 3 years. And it finally caught up with me the day before I met you. Rhea felt something cold settle in her stomach. So this is what? Your escape plan? No. His voice was sharp. You're not an escape plan. He stopped, seemed to struggle with the words. You're the first thing I've wanted in years that I actually chose. Not because someone told me to, not because it made sense, because when I saw you building that cabin, bleeding and stubborn and refusing to quit, I thought, that's what I want, that kind of fight, that kind of certainty. I'm not certain about anything. You're certain about her. He nodded at Anna. You're certain about surviving. That's more than most people ever get. Rhea looked down at her daughter, at the baby's perfect tiny fingers wrapped around her thumb. She thought about Thomas, about the cabin she'd built and abandoned, about all the ways this could still go wrong. If we do this, she said slowly, we do it honest. No lies. No pretending this is something it's not. Agreed. And if you change your mind, if you wake up one day and decide this was a mistake, you tell me. You don't just disappear. I won't. How do I know that? You don't. He met her eyes. Same way I don't know you won't run again the first time things get hard. We're both taking a risk here. That was fair, brutal, but fair. Okay, Rhea said finally, let's go see this valley. They rode down as the sun climbed higher, the morning warming into something almost pleasant. The valley was even better up close. Good soil, plenty of water, trees for timber. They found a spot near the river where the ground leveled out, and Darius dismounted. Here, he said. This is good. Rhea slid off her horse, legs shaking. Anna had fallen asleep against her shoulder, and she didn't want to wake her, but her arms were going numb. Darius noticed. Let me. She hesitated, then carefully transferred the baby to him. He took Anna with surprising gentleness, cradling her against his chest like he'd done it 100 times. You're good at that, Rhea said. Told you. Horses, cattle, the occasional orphaned calf. He looked down at Anna. Babies can't be that different. They're completely different. Well, she hasn't cried yet, so I'm calling it a win. Rhea almost smiled. Almost. They spent the rest of the day planning, where the cabin would go, where the barn would sit, what they'd plant come spring. It felt strange, talking about a future that wasn't just survival. Strange, but not entirely bad. By evening, they'd marked out the corners of the cabin with rocks, and Darius had started clearing brush. Rhea fed Anna, changed her, then laid her in a makeshift cradle they'd rigged from a saddle blanket and 2 logs. We should talk about the legal part, Darius said, not looking up from the tree he was cutting. What legal part? The part where you're still married. Rhea's hand stilled. I know. If Thomas comes after you, and he will, he's got the law on his side. We need a plan. What kind of plan? I can't divorce him. He'd never agree to it. You don't need him to agree. You need grounds. I have grounds. He hit me. Can you prove it? Rhea thought about all the bruises she'd hidden, all the times she'd lied about falling or bumping into things. No. Then we need something else. Abandonment, maybe. If he hasn't seen you He saw me 4 days ago. That clock starts over. Darius swore under his breath. Okay, different approach. What if you weren't Rhea Calloway anymore? She looked at him sharply. What? New place, new name. You could be anyone out here. That's illegal. So is half of what we're doing. He set down the axe, turned to face her. I'm not saying it's the right move. I'm saying it's an option. And when someone asks for papers, for proof, we'll figure it out. That's not a plan. That's hoping. You got a better idea? She didn't. That was the problem. Anna started crying, the thin wail cutting through the evening air. Rhea picked her up, paced with her, tried to calm her down. But the baby wouldn't settle, and after 10 minutes of walking and shushing, Rhea felt tears prick her own eyes. Hey. Darius appeared beside her. Let me try. You don't? I know. Let me try anyway. She handed Anna over, watched as Darius held the baby against his shoulder and started a slow, rocking walk around the clearing. He hummed something low and off-key, and gradually,
Impossibly, Anna quieted. What did you do? Rhea asked. Nothing, just moved. She never settles for me that fast. Maybe she knows you're tense. Babies pick up on that. I'm not tense. He raised an eyebrow. Okay, I'm tense.
This story
but I'm
was
allowed to be
posted on the
tense.
channel The
My
Rusty
husband is
Saddle.
hunting me.
Please do
I'm
not
living in the middle of
repost it in
nowhere
any
with a man I
form.
barely know.
And I have a 3-week-old baby who screams every time I put her down. Fair points, all of them. So, yes, I'm tense. You're also exhausted. When's the last time you slept more than 2 hours? Rhea couldn't remember. I'm fine. You keep saying that. I don't think it means what you think it means. Anna had fallen fully asleep now, her small body limp in Darius's arms. He walked over to the makeshift cradle, laid her down with the kind of care that made Rhea's chest ache. Sleep, he said, straightening. I'll keep watch. You need to sleep too. I'll sleep when you wake up. We'll trade off. It made sense. It was practical. But letting someone else take care of things, even for a few hours, felt like surrender. Rhea. Darius's voice was quiet. You can't do everything alone. Not anymore. I've been doing everything alone for years. I know, but you don't have to now. She wanted to argue, wanted to prove she didn't need anyone. But the truth was, she was so tired she could barely stand, and Anna was asleep, and Darius was right there, solid and sure and not going anywhere. Okay, she whispered, a few hours. She lay down on her bedroll, pulled a blanket over herself, and closed her eyes. She expected to lie awake, listening for danger, unable to relax, but exhaustion dragged her under almost immediately. When she woke, the sun was rising, and Darius was still sitting exactly where he'd been, his rifle across his knees, watching the ridge. He hadn't moved all night. The realization hit her harder than it should have. He'd kept watch. He'd stayed. Morning, he said without turning around. You didn't sleep. I will now. Darius? It's fine. Go check on Anna. She'll be hungry. Rhea wanted to push it, but Anna was starting to fuss. She picked up the baby, settled down to feed her, and watched as Darius finally let himself relax, his eyes closing almost before his head hit the bedroll. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of work. They fell into a routine, Darius building during the day while Rhea handled Anna and did what she could to help. At night, they took turns sleeping, took turns keeping watch. They didn't talk much. There wasn't time, and besides, they were both too tired. But slowly, the cabin took shape. 4 walls, a roof, a door that actually closed. It wasn't fancy, but it was solid, and when the first cold snap hit, they were ready for it. On the day they finished, Darius stood back and looked at what they'd built. Not bad, he said. It'll do. He glanced at her. You always like this? Like what? Can't take a compliment, can't admit when something's good. It's a cabin. It's fine. It's better than fine, and you know it. Rhea felt heat creep up her neck. Maybe. Definitely. He smiled, and it changed his whole face, made him look younger, less guarded. You're allowed to be proud, you know. I'll work on it. That night, they slept inside for the first time. The cabin held the heat from the fire, and for the first time in weeks, Rhea wasn't cold. Anna slept in the cradle Darius had built, and Rhea lay on her bedroll, staring up at the ceiling. Darius? She said into the darkness. Yeah? Thank you. She heard him shift. For what? For this. For staying. For... She didn't know how to finish. You don't have to thank me. I do, though, because you didn't have to do any of it. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, neither did you, but you did it anyway. That's different. I didn't have a choice. Everyone has a choice. You just made harder ones than most people would. She thought about that, about all the time she could have given up, could have gone back to Thomas, could have accepted that her life was always going to be small and controlled and suffocating. She'd chosen not to. Maybe that was worth something. The next morning, everything changed. Rhea was washing clothes by the river when she heard riders. 3 of them,
moving fast. She dropped the shirt she was holding, grabbed Anna from the cradle, and ran for the cabin. Darius! He was already moving, rifle in hand. How many? 3. Get inside. She did, holding Anna tight. Through the gap in the door, she watched the riders approach. Her blood went cold when she recognized the one in front. Thomas. He had 2 men with him, rough-looking types with guns on their hips. They reined in about 30 feet from the cabin, and Thomas dismounted with the same easy confidence he'd always had. Rhea, he called. I know you're in there. Come out. Let's talk about this like adults. Darius stepped out instead, the rifle loose in his hands but ready. Thomas's eyes narrowed. You again. Me again. Where's my wife? Safe. That's not what I asked. It's the answer you're getting. One of the other men shifted in his saddle, hand moving toward his gun.
Darius didn't look at him, but his voice got harder. I wouldn't. You're holding my wife hostage, Thomas said. I could have you arrested. I'm not holding anyone. She's here by choice. She's not capable of making choices right now. She just had a baby. She's confused. Inside the cabin, Rhea felt rage burn through her fear. She handed Anna to the cradle, grabbed her own rifle, and stepped outside before she could think better of it. I'm not confused, she said. Thomas's face lit up. Rhea, thank heavens. I've been so worried. Save it. His expression shifted. Darling, don't call me that. You're my wife. On paper, that's all. That's everything. Legally, you have to come home. No. I have a court order. He pulled a folded paper from his coat. Judge says you're to return to your husband immediately. And the child, too. Rhea's hands tightened on the rifle. That's not happening. It's not up to you. Thomas looked at Darius. And it's definitely not up to him. Actually, a new voice said, it might be up to me. They all turned. A 4th rider was approaching from the east. Older man, silver hair, wearing a sheriff's star on his chest. He rode into the clearing like he owned it, eyes moving over the scene with practiced assessment. Sheriff Brennan, Thomas said smoothly, thank you for coming. This is the situation I was telling you about. My wife, unstable after childbirth, running off with, I know what you told me, Brennan interrupted. He looked at Rhea. That true? You unstable? No, sir. You want to go back with your husband? No, sir. And the baby's his? Rhea's throat tightened. This was it, the moment where everything fell apart. If she said no, Thomas would demand proof. If she said yes, the law would make her go back. The baby's mine, she said carefully. That's not what I asked. Darius stepped forward. With respect, Sheriff, I don't see how that's relevant. Son, I'm trying to figure out if we've got a kidnapping situation here or a domestic dispute. Neither. You've got a woman exercising her right to live where she wants. She's married. That changes things. So a woman stops being a person the minute she says, I do? Brennan's eyes sharpened. You got a problem with the law, Mr. Kane. Darius Kane. Kane. The sheriff's expression shifted. Related to William Kane up north? He's my father. Huh. Brennan scratched his jaw. That complicates things. Thomas's smile was vicious. I don't see how. The law is clear. She comes back with me, or I have her arrested for abandonment and theft. Theft? Rhea said. I didn't take anything. You took yourself, and the clothes on your back, both legally mine. That's insane. That's marriage. Darius moved between them, and his voice dropped to something dangerous. You're not taking her anywhere. You going to stop me? You and what army? Me and common sense. You really want to drag a woman and baby back by force? How's that going to look? I don't care how it looks. Your business partners might. Your reputation might. Thomas's jaw tightened. Are you threatening me? I'm stating facts. You make a scene here, everyone's going to know about it. Everyone's going to ask why your wife ran. Why she'd rather live in a cabin in the middle of nowhere than go back to you. They're going to wonder what you did. I didn't do anything. Then you've got nothing to worry about. The 2 men stared at each other, and Rhea could feel the violence simmering just beneath the surface. One wrong word and this whole thing would explode. Sheriff Brennan cleared his throat. All right, that's enough. Mr. Calloway, I'm going to need you to step back. This is my legal right.
This
I said
story was
step back.
posted on the channel The Rusty
Something
Saddle.
in the sheriff's
Please do
tone
not
made Thomas
repost it in any
comply.
form.
He moved to his horse, but his eyes never left Rhea. Brennan turned to her. Ma'am, I need to ask you some questions, alone. Darius started to protest, but Rhea touched his arm. It's okay. She walked with the sheriff to the edge of the clearing, out of earshot. Anna started crying back at the cabin, and everything in Rhea screamed to go to her, but she forced herself to stay still. Tell me the truth, Brennan said quietly. He hurt you? Rhea's breath caught. What? Your husband. Did he hurt you? She wanted to lie, wanted to say no, it was fine, they just didn't get along. But something in the sheriff's eyes made her stop. Yes, she whispered. How bad? Bad enough. Brennan nodded slowly. Can you prove it? No, the bruises are gone. Anyone witness it? I made sure no one did. That makes things difficult. He looked back at Thomas. Unfortunately, difficult doesn't mean impossible. But you need to understand something. The law's not on your side here. Legally, he's got every right to make you go back. Rhea felt her stomach drop. So that's it? I didn't say that. Brennan's voice was still quiet. I said legally, but sometimes the law and justice don't line up, and sometimes a man in my position has to decide which one matters more. I don't understand. I'm saying I'm not going to force you to go with him. I'm saying if you want to stay here, I'll let you stay. But you need to know he can still come after you, still make trouble. I can't stop that. Why would you do this? Because I've been sheriff for 20 years, and I've seen a lot, and I can tell when a man's dangerous. He glanced at Thomas again. That one's dangerous. And I'll be damned if I hand you over to him just because some piece of paper says I should. Rhea felt tears sting her eyes. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This isn't over. They walked back to the others. Thomas's face was hard, expectant. Well, he demanded. Mrs. Calloway is staying here, Brennan said. That's not legal. It's my decision. If you want to dispute it, take it up with the judge. I will. And when you do, I'll testify about what I saw here today, about how you tracked down your pregnant wife and tried to drag her back by force, about how scared she looked when she saw you. Judges don't like that kind of thing. Thomas's face went red. You can't. I can, and I will. Brennan mounted his horse. My advice, go home, file for divorce if you want, but leave this woman alone. He rode off without waiting for a response. Thomas stood there, shaking with rage. His eyes found Rhea, and the look in them made her blood freeze. This isn't over, he said quietly. Yes, it is. You're still my wife. That baby is still mine, and when I come back, and I will come back, you're going to regret this. He turned to leave, then stopped, looked at Darius. You think you're a hero? You're not. You're just another man stealing what doesn't belong to him. She's not property, Darius said. She belongs to herself. Thomas laughed, bitter and mean. Keep telling yourself that. He rode off with his men, and the silence that followed was deafening. Rhea's legs gave out. She sat down hard in the dirt, and her whole body started shaking. Darius was beside her in a second. You're okay. He's gone. For now. For now is enough. Anna was still crying. Rhea forced herself to stand, to go inside, to pick up her daughter and hold her close. The baby calmed immediately, and Rhea closed her eyes, breathing in the smell of her. Darius appeared in the doorway. We should leave. Head further west. Somewhere he can't find... No. Rhea, no. I'm done running. She looked at him. We built this. We're staying. He'll come back. Let him. Next time I won't hesitate. She meant it. She could see that Darius knew she meant it. Okay, he said finally. We stay. But we prepare. They spent the next week fortifying everything. Extra bar for the door, shutters for the windows. a root cellar that could double as a hiding place. Darius taught Rhea to shoot better, made her practice until she could hit a target from 50 yards. At night, they took turns on watch again. And during the days they worked, they planted a winter garden, stocked up on supplies, did everything they could to make the cabin a fortress. And slowly, carefully, they started to trust each other. One night, sitting by the fire with Anna asleep between them, Darius asked the question Rhea had been dreading. What happens if he gets a judge to side with him? Then I run. And if I come with you? She looked at him. Why would you? Because... He stopped, seemed to search for words. Because this is the first place I've ever felt like I'm building something that matters. It's a cabin, some crops. It's not that special. It's not the place. It's... He gestured between them. This, whatever this is. I don't know what this is. Neither do I. But I want to find out. Rhea's chest tightened. She wanted to want that too, wanted to let herself imagine a future where this worked, where they built something real together, but wanting things had only ever hurt her before. I can't promise you anything, she said. I'm not asking you to. Then what are you asking? For a chance, that's all. Just a chance. Anna stirred in her sleep and Rhea reached down to settle her. When she looked up, Darius was still watching her, patient and steady. Okay, she said quietly. A chance. His smile was small but genuine. That's enough. Outside, the wind picked up, carrying the first real bite of winter. But inside the cabin, the fire burned warm, and for the first time in longer than Rhea could remember, she didn't feel quite so alone. Winter came hard that year. The first snow fell in early November, light flurries that melted by noon. But within a week, the storm started in earnest. Heavy, relentless blankets of white that buried everything and didn't let up for days. The temperature dropped so low that water froze in the bucket overnight, and Rhea woke each morning to ice crystals on the inside of the cabin walls. Darius had been right to push for preparations. Without the extra firewood he'd stacked, the root cellar he'd dug, the supplies he'd insisted they gather, they wouldn't have lasted 2 weeks. As it was, they were barely managing. Anna caught a fever in mid-November. Nothing serious at first, just fussy, running a little warm. But by the 3rd day she was burning up, her tiny body shaking with chills, and Rhea couldn't get her to eat. We need a doctor, Rhea said, pacing with the baby against her shoulder. Darius looked up from the fire he was stoking. Nearest one is 2 days' ride. In this weather, probably 4. Then we go. Rhea, we can't. The passes are snowed in. We wouldn't make it. So what, we just wait? Hope she gets better? We do what we can. Keep her warm. Keep her hydrated. He stood, moved closer. Let me see her. Rhea didn't want to hand Anna over, didn't want to admit she didn't know what to do. But Darius was already reaching for the baby, and she was too tired to fight. He held Anna against his chest, felt her forehead with the back of his hand. She's hot, but not dangerously hot. Not yet. How do you know? I don't. Not for sure. But I've seen calves with fever. It's probably the same. She's not a calf. I know that. His voice was patient. I'm just saying, fever's the body fighting something. As long as it doesn't get too high, it's not the enemy. And if it does get too high, then we'll figure it out. It wasn't reassuring, but it was all they had. They spent the next 3 days taking turns with Anna, keeping her cool when the fever spiked, warming her when the chills got bad. Rhea barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she imagined waking up to silence, to a tiny body gone cold. But Anna fought. She cried. She struggled. She refused to give up. And on the 4th day, the fever broke. Rhea sobbed with relief. Darius found her sitting on the floor with Anna in her arms, tears streaming down her face, and he didn't say anything, just sat down beside her and put his arm around her shoulders. She leaned into him without thinking, too exhausted to care about pride or walls or all the reasons this was complicated. She's okay, he said quietly. This time. That's all we get. One time at a time. What if next time we're not lucky? Then we deal with it, together. The words settled into her chest, heavy and strange. Together. She'd spent so long alone, so long convinced that depending on anyone was weakness. But sitting here with Darius's arm around her, with Anna breathing steady and warm against her chest, she thought maybe, just maybe, she'd been wrong. The snow kept falling. By December they were snowed in completely. The drifts piled so high against the cabin that the door barely opened. They lived in a world of white and gray, of crackling fires and thin rations stretched thinner. Darius started rationing the food without telling her. She only noticed when she caught him giving her his portion of salt pork, claiming he wasn't hungry. "Don't do that, she said. "Do what?" "Lie to me. You're starving just like I am. You're feeding Anna. You need it more." "That's not how this works." "It's exactly how this works." He pushed the plate toward her. "Eat. Darius. Rhea, please, just eat."
This story was posted on
She
the
wanted
channel
to
The
argue,
Rusty
but
Saddle.
the truth
Please
was
do
she
not
was hungry
repost
enough
it in
that
any
her hands
form.
shook. So she ate, hating herself a little for it, hating him a little for making her care. That night, lying on her bedroll with Anna asleep beside her, she heard Darius get up. He moved quietly, trying not to wake her, but the cabin was small enough that she heard everything. "Where are you going?" she asked. He froze. "Checking the traps. We need meat. It's the middle of the night. Can't sleep anyway." "Darius, it's freezing out there." "I'll be fine. At least wait until morning." "Morning's 6 hours away. The traps are 20 minutes. I'll be back before you know it." She sat up. "Then I'm coming with you." "Anna can stay here. She's asleep. We'll be quick." He looked like he wanted to argue, but he didn't. Just handed her a coat and waited while she bundled up. Outside, the cold was brutal, the kind that bit through layers and settled into your bones. Rhea's breath came out in white clouds, and her fingers went numb within minutes. Darius led the way through the snow, following a path he'd marked with stones. They checked 3 traps, all empty. The 4th had something, but it was frozen solid, and when Darius pried it free, it was barely worth keeping. "This isn't working," Rhea said. "It'll work. We just need to be patient." "We don't have time for patient. We're out of food." "I know. So what do we do?" He didn't answer right away. Just stood there in the snow, holding the frozen rabbit, looking at the white expanse around them. "We hunt," he said finally. "Tomorrow. There's deer in the hills. I've seen tracks." "In this weather?" "We don't have a choice." They walked back to the cabin in silence. Inside, Anna was still asleep, and the fire had burned down to embers. Rhea added wood while Darius skinned the rabbit. It wasn't much, but it was something. "Rhea," he said after a while. "Yeah?" "If this doesn't work, if we can't find food, you need to take Anna and go." She froze. "What?" "You heard me. If it comes down to it, you take her and you head for town. Don't wait for me. I'm not leaving you here." "You might have to." "No." She stood up, faced him. "We're in this together. You said that." "I said a lot of things, but if it's between you starving and you getting out, we're not having this conversation." "Rhea," I said no. Her voice was shaking. "You don't get to do that. You don't get to decide you're expendable. I'm being realistic. You're being a martyr, and I don't need a martyr. I need—" She stopped, the words catching in her throat. "What?" he asked quietly. "What do you need?" "I need you to stop acting like you're doing me a favor by being here. Like this is some kind of charity. I need you to admit that you want this too. That you're not just staying because you feel sorry for me." He stared at her. "Is that what you think? That I pity you?" "I don't know what to think. Rhea, I don't pity you. He stopped, ran a hand through his hair. "I'm terrified of you." "What?" "You scare the hell out of me. You're so damn strong, so sure of yourself. And I keep waiting for you to realize you don't need me, that you'd be better off alone." "That's not true." "Isn't it? You built that first cabin by yourself, survived alone for months. You don't need anyone. I needed you when Anna was born. I needed you when Thomas showed up. I need you now." The admission hurt coming out, but it was true.
I don't want to need you, but I do. Why don't you want to? Because needing people gets you hurt. Not always. Often enough. They stood there, the truth hanging between them like something physical. Anna made a soft sound in her sleep, and Rhea glanced over, then back at Darius. I'm scared too, she said quietly. All the time. I'm scared Thomas will find us. I'm scared we won't make it through the winter. I'm scared that one day you'll wake up and realize this was a mistake. It's not a mistake. How do you know? Because I've made plenty of mistakes in my life. And this, you, Anna, this place, this is the first thing that's ever felt right. Rhea felt tears sting her eyes. She blinked them back, but Darius saw anyway. He crossed the space between them, and when he pulled her into his arms, she didn't resist. They stood like that for a long time, just holding each other while the fire crackled and the wind howled outside. The hunt the next day was brutal. They left Anna with a pile of blankets near the fire and set out at dawn, trudging through snow that came up to their knees. Darius led, rifle ready, following tracks that were already half buried. They walked for hours. Rhea's legs burned, her lungs ached from the cold, but she didn't complain. Couldn't complain. They needed this. Finally, Darius stopped, held up a hand. Ahead, barely visible through the trees, a deer stood grazing on exposed bark. Darius raised the rifle. Rhea held her breath. The shot cracked through the silence, and the deer dropped. They had meat, enough to last weeks if they were careful. Getting it back to the cabin was another nightmare. Dragging the carcass through the snow, stopping every few minutes to rest, both of them shaking with exhaustion. But they made it. That night, they ate venison cooked over the fire, and it was the best thing Rhea had tasted in months. We're going to make it, Darius said. Yeah, Rhea agreed. We are. But even as she said it, she heard the sound of horses in the distance. They both froze. How many? Rhea whispered. Darius moved to the window, peered out through the shutters. 4, maybe 5. Thomas? Can't tell yet. Rhea grabbed her rifle, checked the load. Her hands were steady, but her heart was racing. Anna started crying, as if she could sense the tension. Get her quiet, Darius said, not unkindly. Rhea picked up Anna, held her close, whispered soothing nonsense until the baby settled. Outside, the horses were getting closer. Then a voice called out. Darius Kane, I know you're in there. Not Thomas. Someone else. Darius's face went white. Who is that? Rhea asked. My father. He opened the door before she could stop him. Outside, 5 riders sat in the snow. All men, all well-dressed despite the weather. The one in front was older, gray-haired, with Darius's eyes and a face like granite. Father, Darius said evenly. Son. William Kane dismounted, looked at the cabin, at Rhea standing in the doorway with Anna in her arms. So it's true. Depends what you heard. I heard you ran off with a married woman and her bastard child. I heard you abandoned your responsibilities, your family, your future. I heard you're living like a goddamn squatter in the middle of nowhere. Then you heard right. William's jaw tightened. Get your things. You're coming home. No. That wasn't a request. I don't care what it was. Darius stepped forward. I'm not going back. You're engaged to Caroline Fletcher. The wedding's set for spring. This, he gestured at the cabin, at Rhea. This ends now. There's nothing to end. I never agreed to marry Caroline. You didn't have to agree. It was decided. By you, not by me. William's eyes went cold. I've built an empire. Everything I have, everything our family has, I built from nothing. And you're throwing it away for what? A woman you barely know? I know her well enough. You know she's another man's wife. You know that child isn't yours. You know this is going to destroy our family's reputation. I don't care about reputation. Then you're a fool. William turned to Rhea. You. What's your name? Rhea lifted her chin. Rhea Calloway. Calloway. You're the one who ran from her husband. I left a bad situation. You broke a vow, stole property, corrupted my son. I didn't corrupt anyone. He made his own choices. Did he?
Or did you seduce him into playing house while you hide from your legal obligations? Darius moved between them. That's enough. No, it's not nearly enough. William's voice was hard. You want to throw your life away? Fine. But you don't get to use the Kane name while you do it. You don't get the land, the money, any of it. You're on your own. I know. Do you? Because winter's just started, son. You've got no supplies, no resources, no future. You think love's going to keep you warm?
This story was
feed
posted
you?
on the channel
It
The
won't.
Rusty Saddle. Please do
You'll
not
manage.
repost it in any form.
You'll die. Both of you and that baby. William shook his head. Come home. Marry Caroline. I'll even help your friend here. Find her somewhere safe. Make sure she's taken care of. She doesn't need to be taken care of. Everyone needs to be taken care of. That's how the world works. Rhea stepped forward, still holding Anna. Mr. Kane, I appreciate the offer, but I don't need your help, and your son doesn't need to sacrifice himself for a marriage he doesn't want. What he wants is irrelevant. What matters is duty, responsibility, things your generation seems to have forgotten. Or maybe we just have different priorities. William studied her for a long moment. You really think you can make this work, out here, with nothing, against the whole world? We've made it this far. Surviving one winter isn't a life. It's a start. He laughed, bitter and sharp. You're as stubborn as he is. No wonder you found each other. He turned back to Darius. I'm giving you one chance. Come home now, and we'll forget this happened. Stay, and you're no son of mine. Darius didn't hesitate. Then I guess I'm not your son. The words hung in the frozen air. William's face hardened into something that looked like stone. So be it. He mounted his horse. Don't come crawling back when this falls apart, because I won't be there. He rode off with his men, and the silence that followed was deafening. Rhea watched Darius's face, saw the muscle jumping in his jaw, the way his hands clenched into fists. She wanted to say something, but she didn't know what. Sorry felt wrong. Thank you felt inadequate. I'm okay, he said before she could speak. You don't have to be. I know, but I am. He turned to her. He was right about one thing, though. We don't have much time. If we're going to survive, we need to be smarter, work harder. We're already working as hard as we can. Then we need to work different. He looked at the cabin, at the land around them. We need help. From who? Town. There's got to be people there who'd trade labor for food, or supplies for... Darius, we can't go to town. Thomas might already know where we are. Hiding doesn't work forever. At some point, we have to live. He was right. She hated it, but he was right. Okay, she said. We go to town, but we're careful. Always. They left the next morning, Anna bundled between them on Darius's horse. The ride took most of the day, and by the time they reached town, Rhea's nerves were frayed. The place was small, one main street, a handful of shops, a saloon that doubled as a boarding house. People stared as they rode in, and Rhea felt every eye on her like a brand. Darius didn't seem to notice. He headed straight for the general store, dismounted, helped Rhea down. Inside, the proprietor, a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and sharper wit, looked them over with interest. Help you folks? Need supplies, Darius said. Flour, salt, sugar, whatever you can spare. Can you pay? He pulled out a small leather pouch. Will this cover it? The woman opened it, counted the coins. Where'd you get this? Does it matter? It does if it's stolen. It's not. It's mine. My father gave it to me. William Kane's your father? Was. Her eyebrows rose. Heard about that. Heard you ran off with... She looked at Rhea. With a woman in trouble. I'm not in trouble, Rhea said. Didn't say you were, but you got that look. Like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Maybe I am. The woman smiled. Smart. World's full of shoes waiting to drop. She started gathering supplies. Name's Martha. You need anything while you're out here, you come to me. Don't care what anyone says about you. You pay fair, I'll treat you fair. Thank you, Rhea said, surprised. Don't thank me yet. Fair doesn't mean easy. They loaded the supplies onto the horse, and Darius started to lead them out. but Martha called after them. "One more thing. Your husband came through here about a week ago. Thomas Calloway. Asked if anyone had seen you." Ria's blood went cold. "What did you tell him?" "Nothing. Told him I don't make a habit of tracking other people's business." She paused. "But he'll be back. Men like that always come back." "I know." "Then you'd better be ready." They rode back to the cabin in silence, both of them thinking about what Martha had said. Thomas was close, closer than Ria had thought. That night, Darius reinforced the door again. Added another bar, checked the rifle, the ammunition, did everything he could to make them safer. But they both knew the truth. No amount of preparation would stop what was coming. It was just a matter of time. Ria lay awake long after Darius had fallen asleep, listening to Anna breathe, listening to the wind outside. She thought about running again, about packing up and disappearing before Thomas could find them. But she was tired of running, tired of looking over her shoulder. If Thomas came, she'd face him, and this time she wouldn't back down. The storm hit 3 days later, the worst one yet. The wind howled like something alive, and snow fell so thick you couldn't see 3 feet. The temperature dropped to something brutal, and the fire barely kept the cold at bay. Anna got fussy, wouldn't eat, wouldn't sleep. Ria walked with her for hours, trying to calm her, but nothing worked. And then the contractions started. Not Anna, Ria. She stopped mid-step, hand going to her stomach. It couldn't be. She wasn't pregnant. She couldn't be. But her body disagreed. "Darius?" she said, her voice barely above a whisper. He looked up from the fire, saw her face, was on his feet in an instant. "What's wrong?" I don't know. Something's wrong." "Is it Anna?" "No, it's me." She told him about the cramping, the pain, and as she spoke, she saw his face change from concern to something close to panic. "Could you be pregnant?" Maybe. I don't know. I didn't think." Another cramp hit, stronger this time. Ria doubled over, and Darius caught her. "We need to get you to a doctor." "We can't, not in this storm." "Then I'll bring the doctor here." "Darius, no one's riding in this." "I will. You'll die. And you'll die if I don't go." They stared at each other, and Ria saw the determination in his eyes. The same stubborn certainty that had kept him coming back to her cabin, that had made him give up everything to stay. "Please," she whispered, "don't leave me." "I have to." "Then come back. Promise me you'll come back." "I promise." He kissed her forehead, grabbed his coat, and was gone before she could say anything else. Ria sank to the floor, holding Anna with one arm and her stomach with the other. The pain was getting worse, coming in waves that left her gasping. Outside, the storm raged, and somewhere in it, Darius was riding toward help. All she could do was wait, and pray he made it in time. The hours crawled by like years. Ria lost track of time somewhere between the 3rd and 4th contraction, her world narrowing to pain and Anna's cries and the howling storm outside. She'd managed to get Anna fed and settled in the cradle, but the baby sensed something was wrong and wouldn't stop fussing. "I know, sweetheart," Ria gasped, gripping the edge of the table. "I know. Mama's here." But Mama was terrified. The cramping had gotten worse, sharper, and there was blood now. Not much, but enough to make her hands shake as she tried to clean herself up. She didn't know if this was normal, didn't know if she was losing the baby or if this was just how it went. She'd been so careful not to think about the possibility. About the nights with Darius when comfort had turned into something else, when loneliness had made them careless. She'd told herself it was just once, maybe twice, that it didn't mean anything. Her body was calling her a liar. Another contraction hit, and Ria's knees buckled. She went down hard, catching herself on the hearthstone, and Anna's cries escalated to screams. "I'm coming," Ria panted. "Just give me a second." She crawled to the cradle, pulled herself up, lifted Anna with trembling arms. The baby's face was red and furious, and Ria held her close, rocking even though her own body was trying to tear itself apart. "Please," she whispered, "please come back." The wind answered, rattling the shutters. The fire flickered, and then she heard it. Horses. Her heart leaped. Darius. He'd made it. He'd brought help. She stumbled to the door, Anna still in her arms, and lifted the bar with one hand. The door flew open and snow blasted into the cabin. But it wasn't Darius on the threshold. It was Thomas. He stood there covered in snow, his face red from the cold, his eyes bright with something that might have been triumph or rage, or both. Behind him, two men on horseback waited in the storm. "Hello, wife," he said.
Ria's blood turned to ice. She tried to slam the door, but Thomas was faster. He shoved it open, stepped inside, and she stumbled backward. "Get out," she said. "No, I don't think I will."
This story was posted on the channel The
around the
Rusty
cabin,
Saddle.
taking in the
Please do
fire,
not repost
cradle,
it in any
her.
form.
"Quite a little nest you've built. Where's your lover?" "Not here." "I can see that. Out in the storm, is he? Stupid." Thomas smiled. "Or maybe he ran. Maybe he finally realized what you are." "What I am is done with you. You're done when I say you're done." He stepped closer. "You're still my wife, Ria. That baby you're holding is legally mine, and whatever's growing in your belly, that's mine too." Ria's breath caught. "You don't know anything." "Don't I? You're pale. You're shaking, and you've got that look, the same one you had when you were carrying the bastard the first time." Another contraction hit, and Ria couldn't hide the pain. She doubled over, and Anna started screaming again. Thomas's smile widened.
"There it is. You're in labor, aren't you?"
"No. Liar."
He moved toward her. "Give me the baby."
"Like hell."
"Ria, you can barely stand. You think you can fight me?" She didn't think. She knew she couldn't. But she also knew she'd die before she let him touch Anna. She backed toward the corner where Darius kept the rifle, but Thomas saw what she was doing. He crossed the space between them in 3 strides and grabbed her wrist. "Don't," he said quietly. "You'll only make this worse. Let go of me. Not until you give me what's mine." Anna was still screaming. Ria's vision was starting to blur from pain and panic, and she felt her grip on the baby loosening. Then the door crashed open again. Thomas spun around and Ria saw Darius standing in the doorway, covered in snow, breathing hard, rage written across his face like something carved in stone. "Get your hands off her," Darius said. "Or what?" Thomas still had Ria's wrist. "You'll shoot me? In front of witnesses? That's murder." "I don't care what it is." "Yes, you do. You're not a killer. You're just a rich boy playing at being a man." Darius raised the rifle. "Test me." They stared at each other, and Ria could feel the violence coiled in the air, ready to snap. Anna's cries filled the cabin, desperate and terrified. "Thomas," Ria said, her voice shaking, "please, just go. You don't want this. I want what's mine. She's not yours. She was never yours. The law says different. The law's wrong." Another contraction hit, stronger than before, and Ria gasped. Her knees buckled, and this time Thomas had to catch her to keep her from dropping Anna. "Jesus," he muttered. "You're really—" He looked at Darius. "She needs a doctor." "I know that." "So why is she here instead of in town?" "Because you'd be waiting there." "I'm waiting here. Doesn't change anything." Thomas eased Ria toward the chair, and she was too weak to resist. He took Anna from her arms, and Ria tried to grab her back, but she couldn't. "Don't hurt her," she whispered. "I'm not going to hurt her. She's my daughter." "She's not?" "She is until you can prove otherwise, and since you can't—" Thomas looked at the baby in his arms, and his expression softened in a way Ria hadn't seen in years. "She looks like you." "Thomas, please, don't do this." He ignored her, turned to Darius. "Where's the doctor?" "On his way. Should be here any minute." "In this storm?" "He'll be hours, if he makes it at all." "He'll make it. And if he doesn't, what then?" Thomas looked at Ria, saw the pain etched on her face. "Could die. You know that, right? She's not going to die." "How do you know?" "Because she's stronger than you ever gave her credit for." Thomas laughed, bitter and sharp. "I know exactly how strong she is. I lived with her for 5 years, watched her take everything I threw at her and keep standing. It's what I loved about her." He paused. "And what I hated." Ria closed her eyes. The pain was constant now, waves crashing over her without break. She could hear Anna crying, could hear the men arguing, but it all seemed distant, like it was happening to someone else. Then new voices cut through the storm. The door opened and Martha from the general store stumbled in, covered in snow, followed by a thin man with a black bag. "Told you I'd find them," Martha said, shaking snow from her coat. She looked around the cabin, took in the scene, Thomas holding the baby, Darius with the rifle, Rhea hunched in the chair. "Well," she said, "this is a mess." The doctor, gray-haired, exhausted-looking, pushed past her. "I'm Dr. Warren. Who's the patient?" "Me," Rhea managed. He knelt beside her chair, started asking questions. How long had she been cramping? How much blood? When was the last time she ate? Rhea answered as best she could, but her focus kept sliding toward Thomas, toward Anna in his arms. "Sir," Dr. Warren said, looking at Thomas, "I need you to put the baby down and step back. I'm her father. I don't care if you're the King of England. Step back." Thomas hesitated, then set Anna in the cradle. The baby's cries quieted to whimpers. Dr. Warren examined Rhea quickly, efficiently. When he finished, his expression was grave. "How bad?" Darius asked. "She's miscarrying. About 3 months along, I'd guess. It's already started. There's nothing I can do to stop it." The words hit Rhea like a physical blow. Miscarrying. She was losing the baby. Darius's face went white. Is she going to be okay? If the bleeding doesn't get worse, if infection doesn't set in, if she rests. The doctor looked at Rhea. "You're going to need to let this happen. Don't fight it. Your body knows what to do." Rhea nodded, but she couldn't speak. The grief was too big, too sudden. She hadn't wanted to be pregnant, hadn't planned for it, had barely let herself acknowledge it. But now that it was being taken away, the loss was overwhelming. Martha moved to her side, took her hand. "I'm here, honey. You're going to get through this." "I don't want to." "I know, but you will, because you don't get a choice." The next hours were a nightmare. The pain intensified, the bleeding got worse, and Dr. Warren did what he could with the limited supplies in the cabin. Martha stayed beside Rhea the whole time, holding her hand, talking her through it. Darius paced near the door, rifle still in hand, watching Thomas like a hawk. Thomas stood by the window, occasionally glancing at Anna in the cradle, but mostly staring out at the storm. Finally, when dawn was breaking gray and weak through the shutters, it was over. Dr. Warren cleaned up, packed his bag. "She'll need rest, lots of it, and she can't have any more children for at least a year, maybe longer." "She won't," Darius said quietly. Martha gave him a sharp look but didn't comment. She helped Rhea to the bed, got her settled under blankets. Rhea felt empty, hollow, like something essential had been scooped out of her chest. Anna started crying again, and Martha went to her, picked her up. "This one needs feeding. Rhea, can you—" "I can't." Her voice was barely a whisper. "I can't hold her right now." "I'll do it," Thomas said. Everyone turned to look at him. He stood there, hands at his sides, looking more uncertain than Rhea had ever seen him. "There's milk," Rhea said dully. "In the jug. Needs to be warmed." Thomas nodded, moved to the fire. He heated the milk with surprising competence, tested it on his wrist, then took Anna from Martha. The baby latched onto the bottle immediately, and the crying stopped. The cabin fell silent except for the crackle of the fire and Anna's sucking sounds. Dr. Warren cleared his throat. "I'll be going. Martha, you coming?" "I'll stay," Martha said. "Someone needs to keep an eye on things. Suit yourself." He looked at Thomas, then at Darius. "Whatever's going on between you three, and I don't want to know, you need to figure it out. That woman's been through enough." He left, and the door closed behind him with a soft thud. Thomas fed Anna in silence. When she finished, he burped her, rocked her, got her back to sleep with an ease that made Rhea's heart ache. He'd never been like this with her, never patient, never gentle. "Why are you here?" she asked finally. Thomas looked up. "What? Why did you come? What do you want?" He was quiet for a long moment. "Honestly, I don't know anymore." He looked down at Anna. "I was angry. You left me, made me look like a fool. I wanted to drag you back, show everyone I was still in control. And now? Now I'm watching you almost die in a cabin in the middle of nowhere, and I'm wondering what the hell I'm doing." He set Anna in the cradle, turned to face Rhea fully.
You really love him?
She glanced at Darius, who stood frozen by the door. Yes, she said. More than you ever loved me? I never loved you. I loved the idea of you, the man I thought you were. And when you realized I wasn't that man, I stayed anyway, for 5 years, because I thought, her voice broke. I thought I could fix it, fix you, fix us. You couldn't. No, because you didn't want to be fixed. Thomas nodded slowly. You're right, I didn't. He looked at Darius.
This story
love
was
her.
posted on the channel The
Yes,
Rusty Saddle.
Darius
Please
said
do not
without
repost
hesitation.
it in any form.
Enough to give up everything? Already have. And when she breaks your heart, because she will, she's good at that, then I'll deal with it. Thomas laughed, short and bitter. You're a fool. Probably. But you're her fool, I can see that. He walked to the door, paused with his hand on the latch. I'm letting you go, Rhea. I'll file for divorce, sign whatever papers you need, the baby, Anna, she's yours. I won't fight for her. Rhea's breath caught. Why? Because you were right. She was never mine. None of this was ever really mine. He opened the door, looked back one last time. Be happy. Or don't. But don't waste this the way we wasted 5 years. He left, and the sound of his horse faded into the storm. Rhea started crying. Not from pain, not from fear, but from relief so profound it felt like drowning. Martha sat on the edge of the bed, pulled her into a hug, and let her sob. Darius stood by the door, still holding the rifle, looking like he didn't quite believe what had just happened. Is he really gone? Rhea asked when she could speak again. Yeah, Martha said. He's gone. For good? Looks like it. Rhea closed her eyes, felt the tears still streaming down her face. She'd lost a baby, nearly died. But she was free. Finally, impossibly free. Darius set down the rifle, moved to the bed. He sat on the other side, took her hand. I'm sorry, he said quietly. For what? For not getting back sooner. For... Stop. She squeezed his hand. You came back. That's what matters. I thought I'd lost you. You didn't. But I could have. If the doctor hadn't made it, but he did. And I'm here. We're both here. Anna stirred in the cradle, made a soft sound. Rhea looked over at her daughter, at this tiny person who'd somehow survived everything. What do we do now, Jessie? Darius asked. We keep going. What else is there? Martha stood up, stretched. I'll leave you two alone, but I'll be back tomorrow to check on her. And Rhea, you need to rest. Actually rest. No working, no lifting, nothing but sleep and food for at least 2 weeks. I can't just... You can and you will. Darius, you make sure she listens. Yes, ma'am. Martha left, and the cabin fell quiet. Darius lay down beside Rhea on top of the blankets, careful not to jostle her. She turned toward him, and he wrapped his arm around her. I'm scared, she whispered. Of what? That this is temporary, that something else will go wrong, that I'll wake up and you'll be gone. I'm not going anywhere. You say that now, Rhea. He pulled back enough to look at her. I gave up my family, my inheritance, my whole life, for you, for this. I'm not walking away. But what if you regret it? Then I regret it. But I'd rather regret choosing you than regret letting you go. She wanted to argue, wanted to point out all the ways this could still fall apart. But she was too tired, and maybe, just maybe, it was time to stop fighting against hope. Okay, she said. Okay? I believe you. His smile was small but real. That's a start. They lay there as the storm finally started to break, as sunlight began filtering through the cracks in the shutters. Anna slept peacefully, and for the first time in longer than Rhea could remember, the cabin felt like more than just shelter. It felt like home. The weeks that followed were hard in different ways. Rhea's body recovered slowly, and the grief over losing the baby came in waves. Some days she was fine. Other days she couldn't get out of bed. Darius was patient. He took care of Anna, handled the chores, kept the cabin running. He didn't push Rhea to talk about it. didn't try to fix her sadness. He just stayed. Martha came by every few days with supplies and gossip. She told them Thomas had left town, headed back east, said he'd filed the divorce papers through a lawyer, signed everything without contest. "He's really letting you go," Martha said one afternoon, sitting at the table with Rhea while Darius was outside chopping wood. "That's something." "It doesn't feel like something. It feels like he finally won." "Won what?" "Proof that I wasn't worth fighting for." Martha gave her a sharp look. "That's the grief talking. You know better than that." "Do I?" "He didn't let you go because you weren't worth it. He let you go because keeping you would have destroyed all three of you. That takes a different kind of strength." Rhea wanted to believe that, but it was hard to see Thomas's actions as anything other than abandonment, even when abandonment was what she'd wanted. One night in late January, Rhea woke to find Darius sitting by the fire, staring into the flames. "Can't sleep?" she asked. He turned, surprised. "Didn't mean to wake you." "You didn't. What's wrong?" "Nothing. Just thinking." "About what?" He was quiet for a moment. "About what comes next. We've survived the winter mostly, but spring's coming. We'll need to plant, build more, figure out how to actually make this place work long term." "You having second thoughts?" "No, just realistic ones." He looked at her. "We're going to need money, supplies. I've got some saved, but not enough, not for everything we need. So we work, trade, do what everyone else does. And if that's not enough, then we figure something else out. We always do." He smiled at that. "We do, don't we?" "Yeah, we do." The next morning, Darius rode into town. He came back with news that made Rhea's stomach drop. "There's a land auction next month," he said. "Our claim is on the list." "What? We filed properly." "Thomas contested it, said you signed the claim while still married to him, which makes it void." "That bastard! He withdrew the contest yesterday, but the damage is done. They're auctioning it anyway." Rhea felt panic rise in her chest. "We can't lose this place. We built—" "I know, but we need money to bid. More than I have." "How much more?" "A lot." They sat in silence, the weight of it pressing down on them. Losing the land meant losing everything they'd built, meant starting over somewhere else, with even less than before. "We could ask my father," Darius said finally. "No." "Rhea, he disowned you. You think he's going to give you money now?" "He might. If you what? Agree to go back. Marry Caroline." She shook her head. "That's not an option." "Then what is?" She didn't have an answer. That night, after Anna was asleep and Darius had gone outside to check the animals, Rhea pulled out the one thing she'd kept hidden since leaving Thomas. Her mother's ring. It was gold, simple, worth maybe $50. Not enough to buy land, but enough to start. She turned it over in her hands, remembering her mother's face, her mother's voice. This was all she had left of her family, her past, but it was also the future. She put the ring in her pocket. The next morning, she told Darius what she wanted to do. "Sell it," she said. "Use it as stake money." "Rhea, that's your mother's—" "I know what it is, and I know she'd want me to use it, to fight for this." "It's not enough. Even if we sell it, even if we add it to what I have, we might still lose." "Then we lose, but at least we tried." He studied her face for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Okay, we try." They rode to town the next day, sold the ring to a jeweler for $60. Combined with what Darius had saved, they had almost $200. It still might not be enough. The auction was held on a cold Saturday morning in late February. Half the town showed up, some to bid, most just to watch. Rhea stood at the back with Anna in her arms, watching as parcel after parcel went up for sale. Finally, their claim was called. The bidding started at $50. Darius raised his hand. Someone else bid $75. Darius went to $100. The other bidder went to $125. Back and forth, higher and higher. Rhea could see the tension in Darius's shoulders, could see him calculating how far they could go. At $190, he hesitated. The auctioneer started his count. $190 going once. $200, Darius. Darius called. Silence. 200 going once, going twice. 250. The voice came from the back of the crowd. Rhea's blood went cold as William Kane pushed through to the front. Darius's face went white. Father, son. William looked at the auctioneer. $250. Darius looked at Rhea, and she could see the devastation in his eyes. They didn't have that much. Not even close. Going once, the auctioneer said. Rhea's hands tightened on Anna. This was it.
This story
They were
was
going to lose
posted on the
everything.
channel The Rusty Saddle.
Going twice.
Please do not repost it in any form.
William held up a hand. He turned to Darius. I'll withdraw my bid on one condition. What condition? You come work for me. Not at the ranch. I'm opening a new operation further west. Need someone to run it. Someone I trust. I don't understand. I'm offering you a job. A partnership, actually. You run it, profits get split. You'd have your own place, your own land, enough to support. He glanced at Rhea and Anna. A family. Darius stared at his father. Why? Because you're my son, and because I was wrong. The words seemed to cost him. I was wrong to try to control your life, wrong to think I knew what was best for you. You proved you can survive on your own. Now let me help you do more than survive. Rhea could barely breathe. This was the answer they needed. Security, a future, everything they'd been fighting for. But it meant Darius working for his father again, meant owing him, meant giving up the independence they'd fought so hard to keep. Take it, she said quietly. Darius looked at her. What? Take it, it's a good offer. But we need this, and your father's right. We've proved we can survive. Maybe it's time to do more than that. Darius turned back to William. The land here. I want to keep it. We'll work your operation, but this stays ours. William considered, then nodded. Fair enough. He looked at the auctioneer. I withdraw my bid. The auctioneer looked confused but continued. 200 going once, going twice, sold to Darius Kane for $200. The crowd erupted in murmurs and whispers. Rhea felt her knees go weak with relief. They'd done it. They'd actually done it. Outside the auction house, William approached them. He looked at Rhea properly for the first time. Mrs. Calloway. Mr. Kane. I owe you an apology. What I said before, about you corrupting my son, that was unfair. You didn't corrupt him. You showed him what he was capable of. Rhea didn't know what to say to that. Finally, she settled on, Thank you. He nodded, then looked at Anna. May I? Rhea hesitated, then handed her daughter over. William held Anna awkwardly, like he'd forgotten how, but his expression softened. She's beautiful, sis, he said. She is. He handed Anna back. The operation starts in spring. You'll have 3 months to get settled. I'll send word when I need you. Darius shook his father's hand. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. You'll earn every penny. But there was no malice in it. Almost warmth. William left, and Rhea and Darius stood there in the cold, holding their daughter, holding their future. We did it, Rhea said. Yeah, we did. Are you okay with this? Working for him? I don't know, but I know I'm okay with you. With this, the rest we'll figure out. They rode back to the cabin as the sun set, painting the snow gold and pink. Inside, Rhea fed Anna while Darius built up the fire. It wasn't perfect. Nothing ever would be, but it was theirs, and that was enough. Spring came late that year, the snow refusing to let go until well into March. But when it finally melted, it revealed ground that was ready, earth that had been waiting. Rhea planted the first seeds on a morning when the air still held winter's bite, but the sun promised something warmer. Anna sat nearby in a basket, playing with a cloth doll Martha had made, while Darius worked on expanding the barn. You think anything will actually grow? Rhea asked, patting dirt over a row of bean seeds. Has to. We need the food. That's not an answer. Darius looked up from the beam he was fitting. Then yes, I think it'll grow, because we need it to, and because you won't let it do anything else. She almost smiled at that. Stubbornness isn't fertilizer. Isn't it? Seems to have gotten us this far. He had a point. Everything they'd built, everything they'd survived, had come down to refusing to quit when quitting made sense. Maybe that was enough. Maybe it had to be. The letter from William arrived 2 weeks later, delivered by a rider who looked exhausted from the journey. Darius read it twice, his expression unreadable. "What does it say?" Rhea asked. "He wants us there by May 1st, says the operation's bigger than he thought, needs more help." "Is that good or bad?" "I don't know yet." He folded the letter, tucked it into his pocket. "But we need to decide. Stay here and hope the crops come in, or go work for him and have guaranteed income." "We already decided. We're going." "I know, but I wanted to make sure you still felt that way." Rhea looked around the cabin, at the life they'd carved out of nothing. Leaving it felt wrong, even temporarily, but staying meant risking everything on seeds that might not sprout in weather they couldn't control. "I still feel that way," she said. "We go, we work, we save, and then we come back and build something that lasts. Just like that, just like that." They left on the last day of April, the cabin locked up tight, the garden planted and watered and left to the mercy of nature. Anna had grown enough to sit up on her own now, and she made the journey better, her curiosity and occasional laughter breaking up the long silences. William's new operation was 3 days' ride west, in a valley that made their own land look barren by comparison. Rolling hills, thick grass, a river that ran year-round. The house was half-built, more of a frame than a home, but the potential was obvious. William met them at the gate, looking older than Rhea remembered, but no less formidable. "You made it," he said. "We did," Darius replied. "Good. I'll show you around, then we'll talk about what needs doing." The tour took an hour. William had bought up nearly 1,000 acres, planning to run cattle and horses both. He'd hired a crew of men to handle the heavy work, but he needed someone to manage them, to make decisions when he wasn't there.
"That's you," he said to Darius. "You run the day-to-day. I handle the business side." "And Rhea?" Darius asked. William looked at her. "What do you want to do?" The question caught her off guard. No one had ever asked her that before. With Thomas, she'd been expected to cook and clean and stay quiet. Here, she had options. "I'm good with numbers, so," she said finally. "And I know livestock. I could handle books, keep track of inventory." William nodded. "Fine. You'll work with me on the financial side. Make sure these idiots aren't stealing us blind." It wasn't trust exactly, but it was respect, and that was something. They moved into a small cabin on the property, one room with a loft and a stone fireplace that actually drew properly. It was temporary, William said. Once the main house was finished, they'd have their own space there. Rhea didn't let herself get comfortable. Temporary meant temporary. This wasn't home. It was just a place they were passing through. The work was hard but steady. Darius managed the crew, handling problems as they came up, making decisions that William approved more often than not. Rhea kept the books, tracked expenses, caught 3 men trying to skim profits in the first month alone. "You're good at this," William said one evening, reviewing her ledgers. "I had practice. Thomas was terrible with money. Someone had to keep track." "He was terrible with a lot of things, from what I hear." Rhea glanced up sharply. "Who told you that?" "Sheriff Brennan. We had a conversation after that auction. He thought I should know what kind of situation you'd come from." "And?" "And nothing. It's your business, but for what it's worth, I'm glad you got out." It was the closest thing to an apology she'd get from William Kane, and she took it for what it was. By summer, the operation was running smoothly. The cattle were thriving, the horses were selling, and the profits were better than William had projected. He offered Darius a full partnership in July, 40% of the business in exchange for staying on permanently. "What do you think?" Darius asked Rhea that night. "I think it's a good offer. But it's not what we planned. We were supposed to go back, build our own place. We can still do that. This doesn't have to be forever. Doesn't it? Once you're a partner, once we're tied to this, it gets harder to leave. Would that be so bad?" She looked at him. "You really want this? Working for your father, building his dream instead of ours? It's not his dream anymore. It's becoming mine. And maybe..." He paused.
Maybe that's okay. Maybe we don't have to build everything from nothing. Maybe we can build on what's already here. Rhea wanted to argue, wanted to remind him of all the reasons they'd left, all the fights they'd had about independence and control. But the truth was, she was tired. Tired of fighting, tired of barely surviving. Okay, she said. We stay. For now. For now. He agreed. The divorce papers arrived in August, forwarded from their old claim by Martha. Thomas had signed everything, contested nothing. Rhea was legally free. She should have felt relieved, should have celebrated. Instead, she felt hollow. What's wrong? Darius asked when he found her sitting outside with the papers in her lap. Nothing's wrong. Everything's right. That's the problem. I don't understand. For years, I fought to get away from him, and now that I have, now that it's official, I don't know what to do with it. You don't have to do anything. You're free. That's enough. Is it? Isn't it? She didn't have an answer for that. That night, lying in bed while Anna slept in the loft and Darius breathed steady beside her, Rhea thought about freedom. Real freedom, not just the absence of chains. She'd spent so long running from Thomas, from her past, from anything that felt like control.
This story
But
was
maybe
posted
freedom
on the
wasn't
channel
about
The Rusty
money.
Saddle.
Maybe
Please
it was
do not
about
repost
choosing,
it in any
choosing
form.
to stay, choosing to build, choosing to let someone in even when it scared her. She turned toward Darius, found him already awake. I love you, she said. He blinked. What? I love you. I should have said it before. I should have. Rhea. He pulled her closer. You didn't have to say it. I knew. How? Because you're here. Because you chose this. That's bigger than words. Maybe he was right. Maybe actions had always mattered more than declarations. But still, she said it again. I love you. I love you too. They got married in September, a quiet ceremony in town with Martha as witness and Anna as the only guest. No fancy dress, no big celebration, just two people making a promise they'd already been keeping for months. William gave them the deed to their original cabin as a wedding gift, signed over free and clear. Build something there, he said. Someday, when you're ready. It was permission to leave, Rhea realized, permission to choose their own path, even if it meant walking away from his operation. She looked at Darius, saw the same realization in his eyes. Thank you, they said together. The years that followed were good ones. Not easy. Nothing about their life was easy, but good. The operation grew, Darius's partnership became official, and Rhea's work with the books proved invaluable. They saved money, built a house on their original claim, spent summers there and winters at the operation. Anna grew from a baby into a bright, stubborn child who asked too many questions and never met a rule she didn't want to test. She looked like Rhea, everyone said, but she had Darius's steady temperament, his quiet strength. She's lucky, Martha said one afternoon, watching Anna chase chickens around the yard. How so? Rhea asked. She gets to grow up knowing she was wanted, chosen. That's more than a lot of kids get. It was true. Anna would never doubt that she was loved, never wonder if she was worth fighting for. That alone made everything they'd been through worthwhile. In the spring of their 4th year at the operation, word came that Thomas had died. Thrown from a horse, the letter said, quick and clean. Rhea read the news twice, waiting for some feeling to surface. Grief, relief, guilt. But there was nothing, just a distant acknowledgement that part of her past was finally, truly over. You okay? Darius asked. Yeah, I think I am. Need to talk about it? No, there's nothing to say. She folded the letter. He's gone. That chapter's closed. And this chapter? Still being written. He smiled at that. Good answer. But that night, alone with her thoughts while Darius and Anna slept, Rhea let herself remember. Not the bad parts, those she'd locked away years ago, but the early days before everything turned dark. The girl she'd been, so sure she'd found her future, so certain love would be enough. She'd been wrong. Love hadn't been enough. But love plus stubbornness, plus choice, plus the willingness to rebuild when everything fell apart. That had been enough. She looked at Darius sleeping beside her, at Anna curled up in her little bed across the room. This was her family. Not the one she'd been born into, not the one she'd tried to force with Thomas, the one she'd built from nothing. That was the real lesson, she thought. You couldn't force a life. You could only build one, piece by painful piece, and hope it held. By their 5th year, the operation was thriving enough that William started talking about retirement. He wanted Darius to buy him out, take over completely. "I'm getting old," he said over dinner one night, "and this place needs someone young, someone with vision." "I don't know if I'm that person," Darius admitted. "Why not?" "Because every time I think about staying here forever, I think about that cabin we built, about the land we claimed, about starting something that's completely ours." William nodded slowly. "Then do that." "What?" "Do that. Sell your share of this place, take the money, build whatever you want on your land." He looked at Rhea. "Both of you have been good to me, better than I deserved, but I can see you're not meant to stay here, so don't."
"Father, I mean it. You've proved yourself 10 times over. You don't owe me anything." It was freedom again, the same gift he'd given them before, only bigger. They sold their share that winter for more money than Rhea had ever imagined having, enough to build a real house, buy livestock, set themselves up properly, enough to never have to worry about survival again. When spring came, they moved back to their original claim permanently. Anna was 6 now, old enough to help with chores, old enough to understand what they were building. "Is this home now, she asked, looking at the valley. "Yeah," Rhea said. "This is home." They built a proper house over the next 2 years, stone and timber, 2 stories with glass windows and a porch that faced the sunrise. Darius designed it, but Rhea made the decisions about layout, about flow, about all the little details that made a house a home. When it was finished, they stood in the front room and just looked at it. "We did it," Darius said. "We did." "Was it worth it? Everything we went through?" Rhea thought about that, about the cabin she'd built pregnant and alone, about the winter that nearly killed them, about losing the baby, about Thomas, about all the time she'd been certain they wouldn't make it. "Yeah," she said. "It was worth it." Anna brought friends home sometimes, children from town or neighboring homesteads. They'd stare at Rhea and whisper, thinking she couldn't hear. Whispers about her past, about how she'd run away, about scandal and shame. Rhea didn't care. Let them whisper. She knew who she was now, knew what she'd built. One afternoon, a girl, maybe 10 years old, asked her directly, "Is it true you left your husband?" "Yes," Rhea said. "My mama says that's wrong. Says a wife should stay no matter what." "Your mama's entitled to her opinion." "But what do you think?" Rhea looked at the girl, at this child who might grow up thinking she had to endure anything because some rule said so. "I think you should never let anyone make you smaller than you are. I think you should fight for yourself, even when everyone says not to. And I think sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away." The girl thought about that. Did it hurt, leaving? Every single day. Then why did you do it? "Because staying would have killed me, and I wanted to live." The girl nodded slowly, like she understood. Maybe she did. Maybe that conversation would matter someday when she faced her own impossible choice. Or maybe it wouldn't. Either way, Rhea had said what needed saying. When Anna turned 10, she asked about her father. Not Darius. She knew he wasn't her blood father, had always known. But Thomas, the man who'd let her go. "What was he like?" she asked. Rhea chose her words carefully. "He was complicated. He could be charming, and he could be cruel. But in the end, he did one good thing." "What?" "He let us be free." "Do you think he loved me?" "I think he loved the idea of you. I don't know if he knew how." "And Darius?" "Darius knows how. That's the difference." Anna seemed satisfied with that. She went back to her schoolwork, and Rhea watched her, this child who'd somehow turned out steady and sure despite everything. That was the real victory, she thought. Not the house they'd built or the land they owned, but this, raising a child who knew she was loved, who knew she had choices, who would never have to build her life from ruins the way Rhea had. By the time Anna was 15, the homestead was well established.
They had cattle, horses, crops that actually grew. They'd survived droughts and harsh winters, floods and early frosts. They'd made friends, built a community, created a life that felt solid. William died that year, peaceful in his sleep. He left Darius a letter that simply said, "You were always enough. I'm sorry it took me so long to see it." Darius cried when he read it, and Rhea held him while he grieved for the father he'd had and the one he'd wanted. Grief was complicated that way. You could mourn someone and still be angry at them, still wish things had been different. "He tried," Darius said finally. At the end, "He tried." "Yeah," Rhea agreed. "He did." It wasn't forgiveness, exactly, but it was acceptance. And sometimes that was close enough. When Anna turned 18, a young man started coming around. Rancher's son, polite, hardworking. Darius didn't like him on principle. "He's fine," Rhea said, watching her husband pace. "He's too smooth, too practiced." "He's nervous. You make him nervous." "Good." "Darius." "What? She's my daughter. I'm supposed to scare her suitors." "She's not actually your daughter, not by blood." He stopped pacing, looked at her with something fierce in his eyes. "She's my daughter in every way that matters. I was there when she was born. I walked her through nightmares and taught her to ride. Blood doesn't make a father. Showing up does." Rhea felt tears sting her eyes. "I know. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. No, you shouldn't have." But his voice was gentle. "But I get why you did. You're scared too." "Of what?" "Of her leaving, of losing her." He was right. Anna was growing up, would leave eventually. That was natural. But it still felt like another ending. "I don't want to lose her," Rhea whispered. "We won't. She'll always come back, because we gave her a place worth coming back to." It was true. They'd built more than a house, more than a homestead. They'd built a home, a foundation, something solid enough to hold against whatever came. Anna married the rancher's son 2 years later. The wedding was bigger than Rhea's had been. Friends and neighbors, music and dancing, actual joy. Rhea stood beside her daughter and felt pride so fierce it was almost painful. "You did good, Mama," Anna whispered before walking down the aisle. "So did you." Afterward, watching Anna dance with her new husband, Darius pulled Rhea close. "We made it," he said. "To what?" "To this, to the other side of all that fear and pain. We actually made it." Rhea leaned into him, felt his solid warmth, his certainty. "We did." "Any regrets?" She thought about that, about all the roads not taken, all the choices that had led them here, about Thomas and the life she'd left behind, about the baby she'd lost, about all the hard, impossible years. "No," she said finally. "No regrets." And she meant it. They grew old together on that land, weathering the years the same way they'd weathered everything else, with stubbornness and choice and the quiet certainty that they'd chosen right. Anna gave them grandchildren, 3 in total, who ran wild through the valley the same way their mother had. Rhea taught them to plant, to tend, to build. Darius taught them to ride, to work, to stand up when life knocked them down. On Rhea's 60th birthday, sitting on the porch with Darius while the grandchildren played in the yard, she looked at what they'd built. "You ever think about how it started?" she asked. "Sometimes. You?" "All the time. I was so angry back then, so scared. I thought the world was against me." "It kind of was." "Maybe. Or maybe I was just against myself." She paused. "I didn't think I deserved anything good, so I fought against it when it showed up." "But you stopped fighting eventually." "No, I just started fighting for different things, for this, for us." He took her hand, weathered and scarred from decades of work. "Was it enough?" "More than enough." She looked at the house, the land, the family they'd created. "I spent so long thinking I had to be perfect, had to do everything alone, had to prove I didn't need anyone. And now? Now I know the truth. Strength isn't about doing it alone. It's about knowing when to let someone help. when to choose partnership over pride. Took you long enough to figure that out. She laughed. Took both of us. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun set over the valley. This land that had once seemed so harsh, so unforgiving. This life they'd built from nothing. Rhea thought about the girl she'd been, pregnant and terrified, swinging an axe at logs that didn't want to fit. She thought about all the versions of herself she'd been: wife, runaway, mother, survivor, partner. She thought about choice, about how every day was a choice to keep building, keep trying, keep showing up. That was the real lesson. Not that love conquered all or that good things came to those who waited, but that you could lose everything and still build something worth having. That you could be broken and still choose to mend. That the wilderness, whether it was the frontier or your own heart, could be tamed not through force, but through patience and stubbornness and refusing to quit. I would do it all again, she said quietly. Even the hard parts? Especially the hard parts. Because they led here, say. Daria squeezed her hand. Me too. And that, Rhea thought, was the only ending that mattered. Not happily ever after, because life was never that simple. But choosing each other, day after day, year after year, through everything the world threw at them. They'd survived the wilderness. They'd redefined it. And in doing so, they'd built something stronger than destiny, more lasting than luck. They'd built a life worth living. And that was enough.